From the home of Falcon football, CBS 7 presents Falcon Focus, featuring head coach Justin Kerrigan with Jay Hendricks and the CBS 7 sports team. This is Falcon Focus on CBS 7, the home of Falcon football.
Time now for another edition of our UT Permian Basin football coaches show, as we like to call it, Falcon Focus. For UTPB head football coach Justin Kerrigan, I'm Jay Hendricks. Saturday, the Falcons on the road for a Lone Star Conference matchup, taking on first place Midwestern State University Mustangs. Midwestern State able to jump ahead early, tacking on 35 points in the first quarter, and despite 3 touchdowns by the Falcons in the final 3 quarters, the Mustangs took home a 76-21 victory. Coach, I know that stings a bit, but let's talk about this. You knew you were going up against a team that was a tough team. What did your guys see out of this? So what did you learn out of this game?
Well, I think we're learning that we can play with the top level teams. We're not finishing drives. We're not establishing ourselves defensively early enough. We're jumping into holes really fast in games before we settle in and play. But once we settle in, I think we're proving to ourselves. I hope we are, because I know as coaches we watch and we see that we can play with them. I hope the players are starting to realize that they can play with them as well, as long as we don't dig ourselves in too deep of a hole early on, which is what we did last night and what we've done in the previous games. But we're starting to figure out that we can play with these teams. We got to settle down, read, react, and play ball. Yeah,
you and I were talking. There's some plays there where you felt like you're close.
Yeah.
You can see it developing. You know you're going to be a good football team, but they're just a little bit off.
We are, and there's a couple times early on in the game in the first quarter, the first couple scoring drives for Midwestern, we had them in third down, and we had opportunities to stop them and create a punt situation, and we're just a yard short. You know, if it was 3rd and 9, they got 10, and we were there to stop it. We're just not reacting fast enough yet. But we can see that our guys are getting to the right places. We're just not comfortable enough yet going full speed, just trusting what we're seeing.
All right, we're going to talk more about this. Let's go over right now. Let's look at the highlights from last night. CBS 7 sports reporter Sarah Holden has those for us. Sarah?
Hey, thanks, Jay. The UTPB football team still searching for that first Lone Star Conference win as they hit the road to take on the Midwestern State Mustangs last night. The road matchup against #1 Midwestern State would prove to be a big challenge for the first-year Falcons. We're going to pick it up first. 28-0 MSU, Cameron Mathis rolls out and hits Jake England for the first down. Later on in the drive, Mathis back to pass. He hits Mitchell Leonard this time for another Falcon first down. Now let's take you out. 4th down and 4. The Falcons go for it. Mathis back to pass. He is off target and the Falcons turn it over on downs. We're going to take you out. Second quarter now. 49-0. Mathis rolls out and throws it deep to Terrell Davidson. He makes a nice, huge catch for a big gain for the Falcons. Later on in the drive, Mathis, he's got time here, and he hits Leonard in the end zone to put UTPB on the board 49-7. Now, Midwestern State gets off to a fast start, scoring 35 points in that first quarter, as we mentioned, and the Mustangs cruise to a 76-21 win over the Falcons. The Mustangs also staying undefeated in the Lone Star Conference. Those are the highlights from Week 9. Jay, I'm going to send it back to you and Coach Kerrigan.
All right, Sarah, thanks very much. So an early start for Midwestern State really set the pace. How did your players respond facing so much adversity early on? Because they were a big team. They were pretty quick, too.
Yeah, the resiliency of the team is something to be proud of, especially as a coach. We never quit. We kept fighting. Again, it just took us too long to start settling down and playing ball. But the kids reacted to it all well. We didn't have any arguing or fighting on the sidelines. There wasn't any pointing fingers, and they kept going out and continuing to play.
Okay. We saw some plays there. You said you like the way those are developing. You see your quarterbacks getting comfortable. Your guys seem to be comfortable with what you're doing.
Yeah, we're progressing. We're getting what we want. We're not finishing things at times. We shoot ourselves in the foot at times, and sometimes at inopportune moments. But the progression is happening. We're facing some top 10 teams in the country right now with Midwestern and Commerce coming up. And we're playing more established programs. But for the coaches to be able to see where we're at as opposed to where we were, there's progress being made. The scoreboard won't always reflect that.
Right.
But as we watch film, we can see that our guys are getting where they're supposed to be. There's a little bit more trust. It's just not full yet.
Speaking of film, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to break down the first half of last night's game against Midwestern State. We want you to stay with us. This is Falcon Focus. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Falcon Focus. Let's talk player spotlights from this week, brought to you by Pebble Bend Apartment Homes. For this week's offensive player, I'm going with freshman wide receiver Jake England. Quarterback Cameron Mathis threw for 216 yards, finding England 5 times on the night for 64 yards, both team highs. England was also one of 3 to get a score on the board for the Falcons last night. He's also in the top 30 in the Lone Star Conference for receiving yards with 352 on 28 catches with 3 touchdowns. Jay, I'm going to send it back to you and Coach Kerrigan.
Sarah, thanks. With Coach Kerrigan here, we were talking the first half now, and first quarter against Midwestern State, they hit the ground running, scoring 35 points in the first frame. At this point, what are you telling your guys when they get ahead that big?
Well, it's just settle down and play football, and got to play one play at a time. Don't get caught up in the fact that the scoreboard is 35-0. You're not going to make it all up in one play. Focus on right now settling down and executing the one assignment ahead of us.
And you said you liked some of those plays when we were looking at them. You said, again, you can see that they're trying, they're making the effort. You wish you could push them a little closer to get to the ball or a little quicker reaction.
Yeah, and we can't simulate games every week in practice. So when we practice, it's not quite full speed. Not what you see on game day. But we're seeing the progression. We're seeing things come together. Like I said, when you watch the film, you can see that they're recognizing it. You can just see it's just a step slow to trusting what they're seeing at that point and going. And once we get to that, we're going to be a lot further along. But like I said earlier, that we continue to shoot ourselves in the foot a little bit. So at 14-0, we punt, they return it for a touchdown. Then the very next play we have offensively, we fumble, they scoop and score. And we're at 14-0, 28-0, and 5-second period on the clock. 5 seconds off the clock, and we just went from 14 to 28. And those are some of the mistakes that we got to learn to eliminate.
Yeah, all right. And so second quarter now, we'll talk about that. Midwestern State able to put up 3 touchdowns. Falcons do get in the end zone as well. So tell us a little about how you were able to answer back and get them to start completing passes and to hang on to the ball.
Yeah, it's easy for us with the team that we have right now. Like I said, they're very resilient. It's not hard to get them to refocus. They do that well on their own. We have some great leaders on the sidelines that help kind of encourage and sell the motto of being 1-0. And the kids stuck to it. They kept playing. They kept fighting. At halftime, I challenged them a little bit, just some pride in how we're going to go out and finish the game, and I thought we did a great job.
That touchdown had to be, I think, a big momentum boost for you, for your guys too, knowing you could do that. You could score against them.
Yeah, any chance you have some success, it definitely builds some confidence. And early on in the game, we were able to move the ball down the field, and we just didn't finish the drives, and that's kind of been something that's happened to us this year. But as we were able to score a touchdown there just before halftime, I think it showed the guys that, hey, we can't score on them. We know we can move the ball, but we're able to finish the drives, and it was good.
You talk about going at the half, and you did get a touchdown. They're still ahead of you. So what do you tell them at the half then?
Well, at halftime, I just challenged them. I said with the scoreboard, whoever it was at that time, was like 56-7. It wasn't good. And the only thing I said to them at halftime is, you have an opportunity right now to separate this program with where we're at and where we're going. I said it's a pivotal moment for us, and even though it's a first-year program, how are we going to go out and play the second half? Are we going to lay it down and say we've just lost, or are we going to go fight and continue to claw our way back out of this hole? And I challenged them, and I thought they answered it.
Yeah, we've got some good and bad news when it comes to the second half. We'll take a look at those highlights. When we come back, you're watching Falcon Focus.
Welcome back to Falcon Focus. Thank you for staying with us. Let's take a look at my other player spotlight from Week 9, brought to you by Pebble Bend Apartment Homes. For my defensive player, I'm going with cornerback Damian Brewer. Brewer led the team with 7 solo tackles and 9 total on the night. He's also currently 6th in all of the Lone Star Conference with 58 solo and 20 assisted tackles on the season so far, averaging 8.7 tackles per game. Now it's time to take a look at the second half. Jay, Coach, take it away.
Sarah, thanks. Moving on, third quarter now on the road in Wichita Falls against Midwestern State. This quarter was more like it for the Falcons. They matched the Mustangs scoring output at 7 apiece behind a 10-yard touchdown pass, capping off a 75-yard drive, again showing you could add more points on the board.
Yeah, and like I said, we were able to move the ball throughout the night, and we were able to score touchdowns. I think all of our drives were 70, 80-yard drives. The key for us is being able to sustain those drives more during the game. Being able to put the ball in the end zone in the end. But it was good. It was a good drive. Here we throw a screen pass out there to Marquis Simmons, and he's been a great fill-in for us with NCS. They're out again another night, but the guys are doing well.
Yeah, you're beat up a bit. You've got some injuries, but still, your guys are playing well, and you were able to score there. And then you also only held them to one other touchdown. So talk about your defense and how they played in the second half.
Like I said, they settled down quite a bit in the second half and started to play a little bit faster, trusting what they were seeing. And we were starting to get some of the same looks again, and Midwestern was going back to some of the same plays. And once that happens, then the defenders have seen it once live. They've seen it full speed.
Right.
And they learned how to react to it a little bit better, and they did a great job second half.
All right, let's talk final frame now. The Falcons are showing no quit, scoring yet another touchdown in the final period. And, Coach, all 3 touchdowns came on long, well-executed drives. Certainly something I think you can hang your hat on.
Yeah, it's good to see that we are finishing some drives. The opportunities were there. We were down there another time, and we ended up throwing an interception, and that one was my fault because it was during a timeout, and I made the suggestion, told them where to go with it, and so I'll eat that interception. But we were moving the ball, we were getting down there, and it was good to see us capitalize on some of those long drives.
Cameron Mathis led all passers in the game, 216 yards, 2 touchdowns, only 1 interception. Talk about his performance on Saturday.
What I was saying to you earlier is for him being able to trust where he's going to go with the ball, what the defense is giving him. There's a couple throws again this week where when you watch film, you can see that he's starting to trust what he's seeing, what the defense is giving him. And there's starting to be some timing and rhythm to what he's doing. The progression is happening for him, and I think the game is slowing down a little bit for him as well. Once he gets hit a couple times early in the game, he tends to settle down and play really well.
Okay, and some drops. It's something else you got to work on, your guys. And I know watching the film, you and I are looking at it, you're saying those are passes you make every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do make those catches every day. And nobody goes out and drops the ball intentionally. It's just a little bit of a focus deal. And the wide receivers got to understand, too, and I've told them this, it's their job to get Cameron comfortable. It's their job to get the quarterbacks, whoever it is, get them comfortable in the game. They got to make those catches so that he has confidence and he settles down, he's ready to play, whether it's him or Caden.
Again, 216 yards, good performance.
It was a good night.
Okay. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Ford drive of the week from last night's game. You'll want to see that. A long drive capped off with a big touchdown. We'll talk about that coming back. We'll be right back.
It's time now for the West Texas Ford Dealers Drive of the Week.
It is time for the West Texas Ford Dealers Drive of the Week. Coach, we're going to take a look at an exciting drive from the fourth quarter. Let's break this down because this was a big drive and it caps off with a touchdown for you. Again, we're showing that we can, so set this up.
A little two-back formation we just put in a week ago. Nothing here, just first down, short little run, come back with a screen pass.
This is a good one for you.
Yeah, it looks like Jordan Williams here. Get a good first down, moving the ball out close to midfield.
Another look at it.
Some big guys out in space blocking for us. Kane Price and Corn Brooks leading the way. Again, back staying in the two-back package, I should say. And we were able to run the ball really well throughout the night. Drop back pass, hitting Jake Englund here. We've already had him as the player of the week. Had a great game.
Another good run. Yeah.
Long run here, again by Jordan Williams. Out of the two-back, just with the motion, trying to manipulate the defense a little bit as we move around. Same thing again here, Jordan Williams going to motion this time. Hit Tyler Harris. Tyler's a true freshman for us, like most of our guys, but it's a great catch for him, getting down inside the 10-yard line. And then another little play action. On the run, hitting Jake Englund in the front end of the end zone.
And the good news on that is touchdown. You're able to put the points on the board. And that is our drive of the week, our West Texas Ford Dealers Drive of the Week. Time now to check back in with Sarah Holden with one of the stars of last night's game. Sarah?
Hey everyone, for this week's Player Spotlight, I'd like to introduce you all to freshman wide receiver Jake Englund from Palmer, Texas. Thank you so much for joining me today, Jake. Appreciate it. So let's talk about this week's road matchup against Midwestern State. Tough matchup for you guys, going up against the #1 team in the conference. But some good things from your offense in particular. I've noticed this week and last week, it seems like you all are able to find your stride a little bit more, starting to see a little bit more of that offensive momentum building in these past couple weeks. Can you talk about that and what you think the reasoning behind that is?
Yeah, I mean, early in the conference, we weren't getting matchups we wanted and the looks what we wanted for our plays to work. But these last couple of weeks, coverages have been favorable, and offensive line and running backs have always been great all season. So with that and then us stepping up, we've actually been able to look like an offense.
And there has been, a little bit of uncertainty with the quarterback position, going back and forth between both Caden Coots and Cameron Mathis. With Caden out with that shoulder injury right now, obviously we've seen Cameron these past couple of games. So that I've noticed has been favorable for you. It seems to be that you and Cameron jive pretty well. Seems that you guys, can work well together on the offense. Tell me a little bit about that relationship.
I mean, Cameron and I are great friends, but it's been, like I said earlier, the coverages have been favorable for our routes that we run. And Cameron's not, looking for me necessarily on any play. It just happens to be that I'm open. I've been open more these past couple of weeks than before. So you've been able to, as a wide receiver, find yourself in some of those open positions a little bit more, not necessarily because Cameron's QB1 for you guys. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about, overall, heading back into practice this week. What do you think the Falcons need to work on after taking a look at last week's matchup? We had some good things and we had some bad things. If we just stick to the fundamentals and the basics since the first day of camp, I think we'll be fine going into this week.
Going into this week, you guys are coming back home, which I'm sure is something that you're happy about, going up against another top-ranked team, number 2, Texas A&M Commerce. What are you most excited for in this matchup?
Be back in front of our fans, not playing on the road. It's a different atmosphere here at Ratliff than anywhere else. It's good to be home.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Jake. I really
you.
appreciate it. When we come back, we have more Falcon Focus. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Falcon Focus. So, Coach, you're getting ready to come back home. Your next to last game this week, final home game, hosting second-place Texas A&M Commerce Lions. Talk about what you're expecting for this team. They're a pretty big team.
Yeah, size and speed.
Size and speed.
Yeah, they're going to come in ready to go. I think they're going to throw everything at us. We'll probably get some onside kicks and some fake punts, and they'll throw it all at us for us to defend, and probably blitz us quite a bit. But a very big physical team with a lot of speed, very explosive. They're a nationally ranked team. It's going to be a different offense and a different defense. Similar abilities is what we just saw.
Okay, so what do you tell you guys getting ready for a game like this, coming off a loss like you did this last week? You had some positives, but still, it's a pretty big loss for you. How do you get them ready for it?
Well, we just highlight the things that we did well last week, and we'll do that tomorrow morning. We'll go through our highlights and our plays that we need corrected. But we got to emphasize the highlights to show them that they can do these things. They can do what we're asking them to do. They have that ability. They have the ability to stop teams. They have the ability to score on teams. And we just got to continue to highlight that, continue to reiterate the coaching philosophies, the schematic points that we need to emphasize, and then get our kids to trust it. Hopefully we get a little bit healthy coming back as well. Injuries,
you've had a few. Brandon Infieso still not playing. You've had some folks step up, but injuries have hurt you.
Yeah, D-line, we've lost Frank Sayuli, one of our defensive tackles, Monteith Coles at the safety. We lost Charles Hunt last night, which I think he'll be back. Christian Brown a week ago. He didn't play this past week. Hopefully those guys will start coming back and getting ready to go, and we'll see.
You're going to need them this week?
Absolutely. We need them every week.
Yeah. All right, Coach, thanks very much. That's going to wrap it up for this week, our Week 9 edition of the Falcon Focus. We'll see you again next time, same time, same place, right here at CBS 7. UTPB head coach Justin Kerrigan. I'm Jay Hendricks. We'll see you next week.